360,000 tickets. 18 hours. After more than a decade away from the stage, Michael Jackson was mounting the comeback of a lifetime. But the untold backstory of his final years would reveal a far more fragile reality behind the spectacle, one the world would not grasp until it was already too late. On July 17, 1997, Michael Jackson walked off the stage at Wembley Stadium, bringing an end to his final global touring run, the History Era. For the next 12 years, he remained absent from the live concert arena. When his next major studio album, Invincible, arrived on October 30, 2001, it was released without a supporting tour, keeping him away from the live performance market. This anchored a prolonged physical departure from the stage that would last for over a decade. This hiatus contrasted with the scale of his commercial legacy. Jackson's catalog was a pillar of modern music history. Guinness World Records recognized Thriller as the best-selling album of all time, surpassing 67 million copies sold worldwide and earning a 34 million unit certification in the United States. Bad had achieved 10 times diamond status, representing over 10 million units, while Dangerous stood at 7 times platinum. Era-defining music videos and broadcast performances kept his visual legacy alive, preserving his status as a global icon. Yet, the lack of live touring after 1997 created a massive vacuum in the entertainment world. A generation of fans had grown up studying his choreography without ever witnessing a live concert. This prolonged absence built an unprecedented global anticipation for a return. On March 5, 2009, Michael Jackson stepped onto a stage at London's O2 Arena to address a crowd of fans and hundreds of journalists. It was his first major public appearance in years. He announced a 10-show residency starting that July, declaring, "This is it. These will be my final show performances in London." The announcement triggered an immediate, overwhelming response. During the pre-sale, fans bought 360,000 tickets in 18 hours. When the general public sale opened, ticketing platforms crashed as 2 million people attempted to secure seats. Approximately 750,000 tickets sold in just 4 hours. To meet this demand, concert promoter AEG Live expanded the run from 10 shows to 50 shows, stretching the schedule into March 2010. This expansion transformed the comeback into a high-stakes countdown. Led by Chief Executive Officer Randy Phillips, AEG Live committed $30 to $50 million of its own capital to the production. The contract also granted the promoter ownership of all rehearsal footage, establishing a production environment where every preparation was recorded. For a 50-year-old performer who had not toured in 12 years, the 50-show commitment placed an immense public promise under the weight of severe commercial expectations. On April 20, 2009, Michael Jackson arrived at Center Staging in Burbank to begin rehearsals. Behind the closed doors of the production, the massive expectations of a 50-show residency immediately collided with physical reality. Jackson was dealing with chronic pain and a sleep disorder that had plagued him for decades. His former physician, Dr. Alan Metzger, had documented this severe insomnia as far back as the 1996 History Tour, noting that the performer could go days without sleep. Over the years, conventional sleep aids had lost their efficacy, leading Jackson to seek increasingly powerful sedatives. To manage this physical strain, Jackson brought in Dr. Conrad Murray, a cardiologist hired at a rate of $150,000 a month. Murray's contract granted him constant access to the singer's home, where he was tasked with helping Jackson function through the demands of the upcoming London shows. But the medical care bypassed standard safety boundaries. Inside Jackson's rented Holmby Hills mansion, Murray began administering propofol, a potent anesthetic typically reserved for surgical procedures in hospitals, using it off-label as a nightly sleep aid. As rehearsals moved to the Staples Center in June, the physical toll became impossible to hide. On June 19, 2009, the situation reached a critical point. Jackson arrived at the venue shivering, incoherent, and unable to rehearse, forcing director Kenny Ortega to send him home. That evening, Ortega sent a panicked email to AEG Live Chief Randy Phillips, describing Jackson as weak and fatigued, and recommending a psychological evaluation. Associate producer Alif Sankey also observed that Jackson appeared extremely thin and was unable to speak normally. A stark gap had formed between the triumphant comeback sold to the public and the fragile condition of the artist trying to sustain it. On June 25, 2009, the comeback narrative ended at a quiet rented estate in Holmby Hills. At 12:21 p.m., security staff placed a 911 call. Paramedics arrived 1 minute later to find the 50-year-old singer unresponsive in his bedroom, his pulse weak. Emergency responders began on-site CPR immediately. Resuscitation efforts continued during transport and inside the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center, but emergency physicians pronounced Michael Jackson dead at 2:26 p.m. The official coroner's report later attributed the death to acute propofol intoxication, confirming the presence of the powerful anesthetic alongside other sedatives. News of the medical emergency spread almost instantly. TMZ published the initial alert, and within minutes, surging traffic from major news networks and social platforms disrupted internet servers worldwide. The private physical struggles of the preceding months suddenly broke into a global event. On July 7th, a public memorial service at the Staples Center was broadcast to 31.1 million television viewers in the United States, with the total worldwide audience estimated at over 2.5 billion people. Where were you when you heard the news of his passing? Tell us your memories of that day in the comments, and subscribe to the channel for more retrospectives. The medical emergency immediately transformed into a criminal investigation. In the case of People versus Conrad Murray, the prosecution argued that the cardiologist's actions represented an extreme deviation from the standard of medical care. The 2011 trial focused on the unmonitored administration of propofol in a home setting. A Los Angeles County jury found Murray guilty of involuntary manslaughter, resulting in a 4-year state prison sentence. The legal proceedings exposed the vulnerabilities of a global icon whose daily health was managed by those around him. While the courts established legal accountability, the commercial machinery around Jackson's legacy pivoted to his unreleased archive. In October 2009, Sony Pictures released Michael Jackson's This Is It. Compiled from 80 hours of rehearsal footage, the film grossed $261 million worldwide, presenting a portrait of an artist in command of his craft. Yet behind this posthumous success lay a stark financial reality. At the time of his death, Jackson's estate was burdened by over $500 million in debt and creditor claims, including $40 million owed directly to promoter AEG Live. Over the next decade, the estate restructured these liabilities, turning a bankrupt legacy into a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. This final chapter reveals the stark friction between unmatched global fame and the profound isolation of his final days, leaving a legacy bound as much to commercial power as to the tragedy of its end. Subscribe to the channel for more historical retrospectives. Today, the cost of unmatched stardom remains a sobering industry warning. The tragic gap between global expectations and human fragility forces us to question the systems surrounding our icons. What do you remember about the day he passed? Subscribe for more archival documentaries.